Today we will talk about the Yingkou dragon falling incident in Liaoning in 1930 Gen 4. Into Science Discovery. Discovery Classic Legends. This is a classic suspense, thriller, and science program. The old suspense and science programs have all reported the Yingkou dragon falling incident. Therefore, this incident has a high popularity and discussion in China. The release of the program and the occurrence of the event are relatively old. Some people's knowledge of it is only on this dragon bone that is hard to tell true or false. So before revealing the secret, I will briefly describe the whole incident. According to Yingkou City Chronicles, Volume 1, on August 8, 1930 Gen 4, near the mouth of the Liao River, about 10 kilometers away, in a reed swamp, there was a strong fishy smell. The Lu worker who was in charge of the reed pond followed the smell. He found a large area of crushed reeds. Inside, there was a corpse of a huge creature, which scared the worker to turn around and run away. He fell seriously ill when he got home. The nearby villagers reported the incident to the government. Soon the 6th police station of Wankou rushed to the scene. The carcass of the creature was handled by local medical personnel. It was transported to the West Custom House Wharf. It was displayed for several days. Because its appearance was similar to the legendary dragon, it caused a sensation at that time. A large number of people came to visit. A professor from the Aquatic Senior High School in Yingkou came to the scene, identified the skeleton of the unknown creature. He judged it was a shark. It sunk and overexposed, and flowed back into the river, stranded in the mud of the tail pond, because of the rumor. So on August 14th, Shenyang Times, this aquatic professor published the combination of shark tears, the news report of the keel with the crowd watching, which was also in the Yingkou dragon falling event, the most famous report. But before this report, there were actually 3 other reports about this. Reports about the dragon. In early August 1930 Gen 4, Shenyang Times article titled Dragon Descends and Causes Disasters. On July 20 Gen 8, a black dragon descended and possessed in Yingkou, which capsized 3 small boats, rolled over a factory, and caused 9 deaths, and overturned a train parked at the station. This report is too magical, and its authenticity is doubtful, so it is rarely mentioned. On August 11, 1930 Gen 4, the Bible Times reported that the dragon was 3 feet long, with a horn 4 feet long. Describes that on the afternoon of August 6, on the north bank of Liao River, 20 kilometers from the estuary, a dying oolong was found. According to witnesses, the dragon's eyes were half open, with its tail curled up and 2 claws in front, just like dragon's claws. After the dragon left the water, its body was very dry, and it was about to fester. Many villagers spontaneously built a shed to shade it. Carrying water, even the usually lazy people joined in. Soon, a heavy rain fell the next day, and the dragon disappeared after the rain. On August 12, 1930 Gen 4, Shenyang Times reported that the dragon had 20 Gen 8 sections. Stank. The report of the crowding viewers. It was described as follows. On August 8, 10 kilometers from the mouth of the Liao River, the dragon was found again. But this time it was already a corpse. After that, is roughly the same as the records in Yingkou City Chronicle, except for the number of bone joints. It was more detailed. There are 3 claws on each side of the head. The spine is 3 inches wide, and ribs on both sides of the spine. Each is about 5 or 6 inches long. The tail is a vertical white bone tail. There are 20 Gen 8 segments in total. Each section is about a foot long. The whole body is over 3 feet long. There is a claw at the original dragon, which is 2 zhang wide, and a 5 Gen foot Gen deep pit. The paw prints on the edge of the pit are clear. There are gold bars on the modified keel, but the flesh and skin were no longer visible. The scales alone filled 2 large baskets. We extract key information. When the body was found, the flesh and skin were almost rotten. The scales that fell off could fill 2 large baskets. It is about 10 meters long, with 20 Gen 8 vertebrae. It has a pair of horns on its head, and 3 forks. It has claws and dug a 17 meter Gen long, 6 meters wide. It must have struggled violently before death. From the Longjiang disaster on July 20 Gen 8, to August 6's dying, to the discovery of the dragon corpse on August 8, finally, on August 14th, it was identified as a reef. This continuous report for more than half a month has undoubtedly greatly enhanced the authenticity and my workload. If these descriptions are true, it is understandable The professor of ichthyology identified it as a reef. After being displayed for a few days, on August 17th, it was donated to the local aquatic school for storage, but due to the long time, it was not preserved until now. In 2004, the Science Channel investigated the Yingkou Dragon Fall incident, trying to solve this long-standing mystery. The program team invited an expert in marine biology research. Zhao Yangbo identified the keel photo in Shengying Times. The keel photo in Shengying Times for identification. The result was that the keel might be whalebone, keel. The horns on the head were just the misaligned jawbone. The program ended with a Jingu theory. They believed that people at that time had limited cognition, mistaking the stranded whale skeleton for dragon bone. The wrong position of the mandible is the best proof. The program was questioned by many people, and even criticized by witnesses of that year. Under pressure, he once personally rejected the theory, and this program also directly led to the discussion of the Yingkou falling dragon incident. Divided into two factions, keel theory and bone theory. Here is my rough summary. The doubts about the bone theory. First, the time of decay, from August 6th to dying, to August 12th, when all flesh and skin were gone. The speed of decay is outrageous. What is more, the corpse was also scared. Second, the sighting location on August 6th was still 20 kilometers away from the Liaohu River's mouth. Was found. But the death site was only 10 kilometers from the estuary. A stranded goldfish can't do that. Third, the number of vertebrae doesn't match. Have 50-6 vertebrae, while this creature has only 20-8 or 20-9. Fourth, the scales and the dug-out large pit cannot be explained. Fifth, the report of the Bible Times, and the bifurcated keel in the picture. These doubts are all objectively existing. I'm not going to ignore them. Here is the decryption session. I think this is a whalebone, and it may be a or several pieces of whalebones. Deliberately placed whalebones as keels. Don't rush to criticize me, and let me analyze it slowly. First, we zoom in on the picture. We can find the cervical vertebrae of this creature are very similar to those of baleen whales. It can be confirmed that this creature is not like a dragon, have a long and thin neck. Plus, the proportion of the skull is large. It is unlikely to make head turning and other difficult movements, so it was probably like a goldfish, with a thick and fat neck. Second, the arrangement of the spines is chaotic, and the orientation is wrong. It has been explained in science. Third, the whale has a unique herringbone spine. Fourth, the horns are questionable. I have said before, this creature's cervical vertebrae are short, and a very large skull. It is likely that it cannot make head turning movements. It is difficult to obtain a view, and the growth position of these two horns is too awkward, which directly blocks the rear view, which is inconsistent with biological common sense, and this dragon horn has a fatal flaw. In the August 12th report of the Bible Times, it described the dragon horns like this: 3 horns on each side of the head. That is to say, the dragon horn has 3 forks. At first glance, the dragon horn in the picture does look like branched. However, if we increase the resolution of this picture, we will find that the bifurcation of the dragon horn are actually stone steps that the onlookers are stepping on, because the photo is too blurry and the light is dim. It is hard for us to distinguish the distance. At first I was quite unsure, but things gradually became interesting. The position of the dragon horn but also its own shape is unreasonable. One is big and the other is small. One straight and one curved. If it was really a dragon, how could it keep balance when flying? It would cause a stiff neck every day. Secondly, 1930 Jian was the time of Manchukuo, and Yingkou was in the puppet state of Manchukuo. Shenyang Times was founded by the Japanese. In addition, the Shengjing Times false report on the dragon horn. I think this keel is likely to be a fake. From the Edo period to the Meiji period, there was a culture called Janshi in Japan, simply put, which is to make specimens of various monsters for exhibition or sale. There are many elements of dragons in these specimens, such as the legendary Rulong 4 Jian dragon specimen. I have made a video about it before, but you can't see it now. The reason for saying this is to tell you that this method of faking unidentified creatures can be regarded as a traditional Japanese craft. If this skeleton is really keel, it wouldn't be placed in the open air so casually for people to watch, and deliberately let the Shengjing Times exaggerate the facts, as if suggesting a certain person or group. Regarding the conspiracy theory that the Japanese forged keel, there are 2 common theories. First, the Japanese were dissatisfied with Puyi, so they faked the falling dragon incident to warn. The pattern of Dashu Xingchen Shengguang, the fall of the dragon means the fall of the underworld. It gives the people a psychological hint. Personally, I think this is the closest answer to reality. If you can accept it, all the doubts of the whole incident will become reasonable. But as the saying goes, some voices cannot be ignored. It must be part of this video. We mentioned the episode of science in the previous text. The dragon falling incident was criticized by the witnesses, who thought the conclusion of the program was too arbitrary, which made the program team abandon the Jingu theory and change the ending. In fact, I have not verified this rumor. However, later exploration and discovery, the classic legend version of the falling dragon event, are indeed open-ended, endings defining the incident as a natural mystery. Not only that, in the program, I did a large number of interviews with witnesses. I saw it when I was 9 years old. I was on a horse, stood up, my dad held me, I stood and watched, and your eyes were open or not. Its tail really came back and could wrap around. The 2 claws, I stood there. Look at those 2 claws, just like dragon claws. Dragon can't live without water, it will dry up. A dragon without a body is useless. My grandfather, at that time, after hearing that the dragon was in trouble, they followed it. He followed many neighbors at that time, and the old folks, and went with those fellow villagers. They carried water in buckets to water the dragon. The description of these 2 old people coincided with the August 11th, 1930 Jan 4, was very similar to the report of a dragon. The dying dragon and the people watering it. 4 or 5 children were playing together. Yes, it is like that. It was summer, and in summer, the sky was cloudy. We were playing there. I looked up suddenly. Hey, I said that was a dragon. Look, it is so vivid. It looked basically like the one in the painting. The head looked like a cow's head. Its head is like an old ox's head, with 2 horns, 2 whiskers, and big eyes. There is hair on its mouth. The description of Chai Shu Kong is quite amazing. It should correspond to the Longjia brewing disaster on July 20 Jan 8, 1930 Jan 4. It was the first report on the drunken dragon event, and it was also the time when the dragon was most alive. When reviewing these 2 episodes, I also found an interesting point. 虽然 both episodes define the event as an unsolved mystery, but they didn't cut out the part about bones. The part about the bones and muscles. It was also identified by expert Zhao Yangbo, and even added a step of laying the keel. I believe in the ability of this expert. Some analyses by Dongji Online are definitely not as thorough as this expert. Is the answer of science close to you wrong? I don't think so. Why did they change the ending? Because of witnesses. Yes, because there are a large number of witnesses. These witnesses didn't know each other, and their memories corresponded to the reports. This is the reason why the Yinku falling dragon is the reason why it remains an unsolved mystery, not the Soujian called keel. Well, that is all for this video. I didn't deliberately leave an ambiguous ending. That is the truth. You've seen this far. Please give me a like.